Video 1. The start of a brand new series covering the complete Cambridge International AS and A-Level Economics syllabus. 11 videos, from the most basic economic ideas all the way through to international trade and development. 3 topics today. The basic economic problem every economic decision comes back to, how economists model resource allocation, and the 4 different classifications of goods and services. A classification that trips up more candidates than almost anything else in this entire topic. Same method as always. The real concept, a mistake Cambridge's own examiners have genuinely documented, and a full exam-level question with real time built in before the answer arrives. Let's start with the single idea every other idea in economics is built on: scarcity. Every economic decision at every level comes back to the same starting point. Resources are scarce, so choosing one thing always means giving up another. And how economists study that trade-off and what resources actually go into producing anything at all are the 2 ideas built directly on top of it. Here's the first documented finding, an opportunity cost calculation with the ratio the wrong way round. This question required candidates to use a table which showed the opportunity cost of 2 separate producers, each producing 2 products. The answer was option D, which stated that the opportunity cost for Zoe of gaining 1 bracelet was equal to 2 rings. It was clear from the table that Zoe could gain 8 bracelets by only giving up 4 rings. Hence, the opportunity cost of gaining 1 bracelet was equal to half of 1 ring. 64% of candidates got this wrong. Here's a second trap worth knowing, with no single examiner quote attached. Positive economics mistaken for optimistic or good news. A positive statement is a testable, factual claim. It can be checked against evidence and shown true or false. A normative statement is a value judgment, what someone thinks should happen. Positive here has nothing to do with being upbeat. It means fact-based, not opinion-based. Here is your exam-level question. Explain how to correctly calculate opportunity cost from a trade-off table. Which quantity actually divides which? Then explain the genuine difference between a positive and a normative economic statement. Here is the solution. Opportunity cost is what you give up divided by what you gain, not the other way around. Using Zoe's example, she gains 8 bracelets by giving up 4 rings, so the opportunity cost of 1 bracelet is 4 divided by 8, or half a ring, not 2 rings, which is the ratio flipped upside down. And a positive statement is testable. It describes what actually is the case and can be proven right or wrong with evidence. A normative statement is a value judgment, what someone believes should be the case, which can't be definitively proven either way. Positive means fact-based, not upbeat. 2 topics down: the basic economic problem and how economists model resource allocation. An opportunity cost calculation inverted. The wrong quantity divided by the wrong quantity. A production possibility curve correctly drawn, but the actual reallocation shown incorrectly. 1 topic left, and it's the one that trips up more candidates than anything else so far, telling 4 different kinds of goods apart. Different economic systems answer the basic economic problem differently: markets, planning, or some mix of both. And a production possibility curve is the standard diagram for showing exactly what a society's resource allocation choices actually look like. Here's the first documented finding: advantages and disadvantages listed, but no actual judgment reached. Candidates were generally able to analyze the potential advantages and disadvantages of the 2 types of economic system, but did not always offer a convincing evaluation in relation to the switch. Here's the second, verified against the actual exam question. A production possibility curve drawn correctly, but the reallocation itself shown wrong. The question asked candidates to explain how a government might allocate more resources to consumption and fewer to investment. Although most who attempted the question were able to draw a valid diagram, most were unable to demonstrate that a move to allocate more resources to consumption would be represented by a movement along the curve towards the consumption axis. Here is your exam-level question. Assess whether a planned economy should always switch to a mixed economy, reaching a genuine judgment, not just listing advantages and disadvantages. Then use a production possibility curve diagram to show a government reallocating resources from investment to consumption, as a movement along the curve, not a shift of the curve itself. Here is the solution. A genuine evaluation of the switch needs an actual judgment. For instance, it depends on whether the planned economy is already meeting its social objectives or is instead facing severe inefficiency that a mixed economy's price signals could fix, not just a list of generic pros and cons left unweighed against each other. And reallocating from investment to consumption goods is a movement along the existing curve, from one point to a different point on the same curve, since total resources and technology haven't changed. It is not a shift of the whole curve, which would represent economic growth or decline instead. Every good or service falls into one of four categories: free, public, merit, or demerit. And one specific confusion trips up more candidates on this topic than almost anything else so far. Here's the first documented finding, confirmed independently across multiple examination sessions. Free to use mistaken for the actual definition of a public good. Only 8% of candidates were able to answer this question correctly. 84% of candidates chose the option which stated that a new road that was free to use could be described as a public good. This was incorrect because this good would neither be non-rival or non-excludable. A separate session found the identical pattern with government-provided healthcare, 81% wrong, and a third session found candidates simply giving the wrong examples altogether: roads, healthcare, parks, and education. Here's the second. Merit and demerit goods not actually distinguished from ordinary private goods. Relatively few were able to differentiate between these goods and other private goods, which was an important part of the analysis. Elsewhere, candidates gave only a generic example like food instead of a precise one, and in a third instance argued that bus and rail services were public or merit goods when they are, in fact, private goods. Here is your exam-level question. Explain why a free-to-use road is a private good, not a public good, using the actual definition, not just the word free. Then explain what specifically makes a good a merit good, distinct from any other private good someone might simply think is good for them. Here is the solution. A public good must be both non-rival. One person's use doesn't reduce how much is available for anyone else, and non-excludable, impossible to stop someone using it without paying. A road is rival, since traffic congestion happens, and excludable, since tolls exist. So despite being free at the point of use, it's a private good, not a public good. Free to use describes how it's paid for, not what kind of good it actually is. And a merit good specifically means a good that would be underconsumed in a free market because of imperfect information. People underestimate the true benefit to themselves or to society. That underconsumption, caused specifically by an information failure, is the defining feature, not simply that this happens to be good for you. 3 topics: the basic economic problem, modeling resource allocation, and classifying goods and services. Notice the thread running through today's mistakes. Naming a concept correctly isn't the same as applying its actual definition. A road that's free to use isn't automatically a public good. A positive statement isn't the same as good news. Reallocating resources along a curve isn't the same as shifting the curve itself. Precision about definitions matters from the very first topic in this syllabus. Next time, the price system and the microeconomy, demand, supply, and the elasticities that measure how responsive they are. Search Cambridge Economics on StudyRevise for the rest of this series, and I'll see you in the next one.